SCP Thursdays with me, Yisente, and Kavzar the Blind. Yay!
Yee.
All
Got
right,
a good lineup
so
for you guys tonight.
And special guest.
yes, we got a special guest in here. Obviously, the wife and the doggo sleeping with us. So I'm gonna sit down and join the doggy roos. And I do need to get my phone so I can look at the chat just in case anybody pops in. Is that volume good enough for you, dear? I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, we're gonna find out.
Let me just get my chat going real quick. Oops, shit.
Yeah, I was getting the
How come I
stream
can't
set up
see
on my
it
phone
here?
too, so just to double check.
Yeah, it's always good to have. All right. Yeah, we already got a like. So someone's watching. All right, we're ready to do this view party. I'm ready whenever you are.
How come I can't
Alright,
see it over
tonight's
here?
lineup, ladies and gentlemen, we've got groups of interest in the SCP universe. There are other groups aside from the SCP Foundation, and they all have their own goals and motives for doing what they do with regards to anomalies. The first one we're going to be talking about is the Global Occult Coalition. They're similar to the SCP Foundation, but we're going to see how they differ, and it's pretty cool.
The Global Occult
The Global
Coalition.
Occult Coalition. One of the most common questions people ask when discussing dangerous SCPs is why doesn't the Foundation just destroy it? In some cases, it certainly seems like a good question, as it's strange that the Foundation would go to such lengths to contain something so dangerous when they could just kill or destroy it. The answer varies depending on the SCP, such as the Foundation has tried and failed to destroy it, or more broadly, it's just not the Foundation's way to destroy SCPs, as they are focused on securing things. But what if there was a similar organization that didn't quite follow the same rules, and did want to destroy these dangerous anomalies? This organization would be called the Global Occult Coalition. The GOC is its own part of the SCP universe, and someone could quite easily enjoy the SCP universe without ever reading much about them. However, there are a number of SCPs contained or known to the Foundation that have a link with the GOC, as well as a large number of tales related to them, far more than I could cover in this video. The purpose of this video is to just give you a solid understanding of who the GOC are and how they operate, so that you can continue learning more about them on your own. The first main event linked to the founding of the GOC occurred in 1882, when a group of German occultists managed to capture and destroy an energy entity that was being worshipped as a god by several Semitic tribes thousands of years prior.
No relation.
The destruction of this entity resulted in a psychic backlash in the area, causing feelings of nihilism in certain sensitive individuals, notably philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who wrote about God being dead, referring to the entity. This leftover energy was apparently going to be utilized by members of Nazi Germany during World War II to complete an occult ritual known as the Rite of Solomon. Details during this time are sparse, but the event sparked the Seventh Occult War, although practically nothing is known about the prior six, and afterwards led to the founding of the
It's always the
Global Occult
Germans.
Coalition in order to prevent future similar events. Of course, the SCP Foundation already exists during this time, but they mostly act independently of any governmental body and have very little oversight. The Global Occult Coalition, on the other hand, grew out of a desire from the United Nations to have their own organization devoted to protecting the world from the paranormal. Since no single nation could be trusted with the secretive handling of anomalous objects and creatures, the GOC was formed from the cooperation of 108 different paranormal organizations, including the Bavarian Illuminati, the Knights Templar, and the United Church of Satan. These organizations work with the GOC to cover a broad field of the anomalous and paranormal, and the United Nations fund the organization as long as there is a degree of oversight from them. The GOC's mission statement, then, covers 5 different goals. Primarily, their first and most important mission is to protect the human race from any threats outside of the norm. Secondly, is to conceal the knowledge of these threats from humanity to avoid panic and anarchy. Third, individual humans will be protected during the course of GOC operations, unless this mission interferes with the first 2. Fourth is the destruction of paranormal threats, as their existence goes against the first 3 missions, and no unnecessary risks will be taken to ensure their survival. Finally, the 5th mission is education, as GOC make every effort to learn more about the paranormal, unless it goes against any of the earlier missions. It's pretty clear from these mission statements how much the GOC differ from the Foundation, but their logic and intent is sound. The GOC operates through 3 separate divisions: Physics, Psych, and Ptolemy. The Physics Division handle the actual investigation and capture or elimination of paranormal threats. The Psych Division focuses on diplomacy and observation, and Ptolemy is the Support Division, handling logistics, management, and research into the paranormal. GOC operatives mostly utilize technology and weaponry that is readily available to militaries and other organizations, so that it wouldn't cause any concern if lost in the field. But they do occasionally use tech that comes from paranormal research to better aid in eliminating anomalous threats. These advanced pieces of technology also include combat and infiltration suits that incorporate bullet-resistant nanofibers, augmented reality systems, cloaking devices, or even full-body exoskeletons. Field agents are fully prepared to tackle the various threats they might encounter, and are capable of taking down highly dangerous anomalies, such as those capable of regeneration, shape-shifting, or even bending reality. Despite this preparation, however, capturing and eliminating anomalous entities is no easy feat, and GOC operatives are fully aware how likely their deaths are. So far, everything seems fairly logical. A well-funded, well-trained organization that have spent decades investigating and eliminating paranormal threats. So why doesn't the SCP Foundation adopt a similar methodology? To answer that, we'll have to look at a few specific examples, when the GOC especially messed things up. Likely the most relevant example is SCP-1609, a pile of wood splinters, nails, and scraps of fabric, currently contained by the SCP Foundation. Originally, 1609 was a large chair carved in the form of a reclining woman that would detect when anyone in an unknown radius around it needed to sit down and didn't have a comfortable seat nearby. The chair would then teleport to them and remain there until someone else needed a seat. This was the extent of its anomalous properties, but the GOC managed to capture it and send it through a wood chipper, as a teleporting chair could easily risk breaking the mission of secrecy held by the GOC. The destroyed chair killed a number of GOC personnel before suddenly appearing in an unused containment cell owned by the Foundation. SCP-1609 is now much more dangerous, and when reacting to specific stimuli, will become violent, teleporting portions of itself into the lungs of those who have angered it. This quickly leads to death, at which point it will teleport back to its containment cell. Things that anger SCP-1609 include wearing clothing similar to the GOC uniform, usage of words or phrases utilized by GOC personnel, such as threat entity, the sound of a running motor, or anything overtly hostile to 1609 itself. To counter this, the Foundation believes that 1609 prefers situations where it can be useful to humans, as it once did as a chair, and so they use the 1609 mass as mulch for a flower bed. Part of the containment procedures mention that anyone who visits the flower bed must remark on the beauty of the flowers and the quality of the mulch. The report for 1609 ends with a document from a Foundation doctor who explains that 1609 is a cautionary tale of the flaws inherent in the GOC's operating procedures. He summarizes how it's a perfect example of why the Foundation contains rather than destroys, and says that when you destroy something, you can't go back on your mistake. He concludes by saying that this is why the Foundation is right, and the GOC are wrong. Of course, it'd be odd for a Foundation employee to say differently. SCP 2002 was a large spacefaring vessel, consisting of a spherical hull and roughly 3,000 small pods attached to it. Analysis of the vessel seemed to show that it belonged to the Foundation, although the current SCP Foundation only had designs under development that were similar to the ship. The vessel had come from an unknown location, and apparently went through some sort of temporal anomaly, but was traveling at a constant 12.5 kilometers per second towards Earth. This information and other basic details were relayed to the GOC through a covert operative working for the SCP Foundation. The GOC were not sure why the Foundation had no containment procedures in place for this SCP, but they decided that if the vessel came within a certain distance of Earth, they were planning to terminate it themselves, to avoid an apocalyptic scenario should it collide with the planet. As the vessel passed by our moon, a weaponized satellite belonging to the GOC destroyed the vessel, leaving only partial fragments to hit the Earth. These fragments were recovered by the Foundation, who also found a large number of human remains among them. The remainder of the SCP documentation reveals information that the GOC did not possess, as the vessel came from the future, where an SCP caused the global population to become sterile. The SCP Foundation decided to send a number of uninfected embryos, along with some Foundation personnel, into outer space, where they would remain in stasis for 135 years before coming back to Earth to repopulate it once the plague was gone. Unfortunately, the ship passed through a temporal anomaly, causing it to travel back into the past and approach our current Earth. Ultimately, this anomaly caused their mission to fail, but this demonstrated that the GOC still operated with lethal decisions, without possessing all of the facts. SCP-1522 is perhaps another case of the GOC being unnecessarily cruel in their operations. 1522 were two sentient fishing trawlers, capable of autonomous movement and faster than normal speeds. They spent most of their time sending out modified sonar pings to play with whales, and the Foundation continually kept civilians away from them, mostly letting the ships do their own thing. The GOC, however, came in and launched harpoon missiles at one of the ships, quickly sinking it. The other ship tried to save it, but could not, and seemed to destroy itself afterwards. The Foundation eventually recovered the two sunken ships, finding two small, partially formed rowing boats in one of them. While it might seem cruel, it likely took a good deal of effort to keep information about these two anomalous ships concealed from the public, and destroying them does fit in with the GOC's mission statement. I don't want to be misleading with this summary, however, and so I want to make it clear that these SCP articles are all written by Foundation personnel, who are likely to share a certain bias against the GOC. Looking at different perspectives, particularly in various tales, you find that the GOC are a bit more nuanced than just the common kill-all anomalies concept. These reports show the GOC are more than willing to negotiate with anomalous entities, or at the very least not destroy them immediately, and also aren't shy about showing the mistakes the Foundation makes. Since the concept of canon is so fluid in the SCP universe, it's understandable that you can't simply pigeonhole an organization like the GOC into a single perspective. Perhaps the GOC caused plenty of problems in their pursuit of protecting humanity by destroying the paranormal, such as in the alternate reality of SCP-1730. And perhaps the Foundation caused plenty of problems in their pursuit of containing and researching the paranormal. In closing, I hope that this has provided a good enough basis of understanding for the GOC to continue your own research. While the SCP Foundation will often paint the GOC as one of the bad guys, they have also been shown to work alongside them if need be, and there is mostly peace between the two organizations. In the end, if nothing else, it seems clear that the GOC exist for humanity's protection, whether we agree with their methods or not.
So they're basically like America. Let me fix my
Indubitably.
fix my mic so that it doesn't have that echo.
Yeah,
One
no
sec.
worries.
Does it have an
And I'm also leaving you a
echo?
pause because in the older videos that Tess used to do, he would put like these little end quotes at the end of the videos. He doesn't do it anymore now. He just puts like his Patreon people up at the end of the videos. But so the Foundation usually points to the mulch, the murderous mulch, as like, hey, this is why your mission statement sucks because you guys operate with lethal force when you don't know all the information. But there's an SCP out there that the GOC can point to and be like, yeah, your guys' way of doing things isn't that great either.
Yeah, exactly. There's always some contradiction.
Yeah, and that one is going to be a video for another day, and that one is called Insect Hell.
Oh, watch that one.
You want to watch that one, dear?
No, I said ill.
It's a good one, trust
I
me.
hate
She
insects.
said, "I hate insects." Well, I think I just put the threshold on, so hopefully we can have this
Wait, so
on.
can we watch that plant mulch one?
What plant mulch one? You mean the what we just watched right now?
Unfortunately, there's no specific video that at least the Exploring series has done that I know about for that particular SCP. I'm sure you could find a video for that one, but it's going to be short because the article's pretty short for it.
Got it.
SCPs are real in some universe, most likely not ours, though. Grayson.
In answer to your question, Grayson, my favorite SCP, at least recently, is 6004, and we're also going to be covering that one. Not tonight, but at a later night, trust me.
So, how many SCPs have you seen, Ian? Kavzar?
I mean, I wouldn't say I've seen all of them, but I've seen a lot of them.
Well, there's like
It's
8,000 right now.
well, right now there's well over 9,000. I don't think they've hit 10,000 yet, but they're pretty close. It's been around since 2007, roughly, and they're actually articles on a website. And what these guys do is they summarize them on a YouTube channel. There's a couple of YouTube channels that do that. Yeah, and this
Yeah, I mean,
particular
I
one is
think
my
it'll be
favorite.
fun to in the future, aside from covering the ones that have already been covered on YouTube channels, to just narrate and do our own. I mean, cover. I mean, thousands of them, so I'm sure
Oh
not
yeah, we
all of
could
them have been
definitely do
covered.
that.
That's gonna be fun. But this is a good intro to, for all of us that don't know about it and want to get into it. Because I want to
Yep.
make an SCP myself.
I mean, you
This
totally
shit's cool.
could. You can just go to their website and create an article and see how it does because they rate the articles there.
Oh shit! All right, well, let's get on to this Church of the Broken God.
Yes, sir. So just a preface on this video, again, this is one of the older videos on the Exploring Series' channel. It's actually very unpolished, and he kind of lapses into a tangent on another group of interest, and it's actually the group of interest that is opposed to the Church of the Broken Gods. So just a bit of an info on that. So I'll kind of try and preface it myself. The Church of the Broken God is an organization that actually dates back thousands of years. The original group was called the Mechanites, and they existed in kind of the Near East and in Greece and that area of the world, kind of around Turkey, the Holy Lands, Greece, and basically they worship a being called Meccan or Mechane. depends on the pronunciation. People pronounce it different ways, but Mechane is usually the common pronunciation. And it's essentially a machine god, and I'll let Tess do the rest of the description of that one.
The Church of the Broken God. The SCP universe is filled with countless anomalous objects, creatures, and phenomena, and it's only logical that there would also exist religions based around these strange and inexplicable concepts. While most religions are focused on the idea of one or more deities and their role in the life and afterlife of humanity, the Church of the Broken God believes in a very different perspective. This video will provide a brief summary of the currently known information related to the Church, but due to the lack of canon within the SCP universe, much of this is subject to interpretation or change. To put it simply, the Church of the Broken God believes that their deity, an entity known as Mechane, has been disassembled, shattered, or otherwise broken. Their goal, and the focus of their centuries of effort, is to reassemble Mechane using a number of anomalous technological objects. To explain what happened to Mechane and why they wish to rebuild him, we have to look back to their beliefs on the origin of life. In the beginning there were two gods, Mechane, the god of metal, machines, and intelligence, and Yaldabaoth, the goddess of flesh and animal instinct. It is said that Yaldabaoth is responsible for creating mankind, giving them their form and their instincts, but Mechane is responsible for giving us our intellect. In time, humanity progressed, creating continually greater technological marvels and becoming more and more civilized. This pleased Mechane, but greatly upset Yaldabaoth, as humanity was discarding their basic animal instincts. Yaldabaoth turned on humanity, wishing to turn them back into the wild animals she had first created, but Mechane stepped in to stop her. Knowing that a continual battle between two gods would have dire consequences, Mechane instead sacrificed himself, shattering his own body in order to use it as a great cage. Mechane's body encased Yaldabaoth, silencing both deities. Pieces of Mechane's body scattered across Earth, and fragments of Yaldabaoth began to trickle out of the cage. The followers of Mechane began spreading their religion and set out to gather what pieces of Mechane that they could find. They had two primary goals. One was to reform Mechane, the broken god, and two was to oppose the followers of Yaldabaoth, known as Sarkics. Sarkics deserve their own video to cover their history, which is even more muddled than the Church of the Broken God, but notably they believe in the alteration of their human forms to achieve godhood, and they practice human sacrifice, ritual cannibalism, and the worshipping of disease. The distinctions between the two cults are obvious, with the Mechanites believing they need to cast off their human nature with technology to achieve perfection, and Sarkics believing the opposite, that humanity and the Earth need to embrace their basic human nature, eschewing objective morality. It's believed that Sarkics wish to prepare the planet for the inevitable return of Yaldabaoth, and they primarily hope to achieve this using SCP-610, known as the Red Death, or the Flesh That Hates. SCP-610 is a highly contagious disease that rapidly transforms and takes over its host, forcing the host to spread the disease as much as possible. 610 will infect any living organism nearby, and also will continue to spread fleshy growths in order to create an area hospitable for continued infection. Left unchecked, 610 would easily spread across the planet, but the SCP Foundation, the Church of the Broken God, and other organizations have managed to keep it contained so far. Before the Foundation, however, it was left to just the followers of Mechane to oppose the Sarkics, and this opposition most notably culminated in the War of the Flesh in the Late Bronze Age, and centered around the regions of Greece. The Sarkics fought by transforming themselves into abominable monsters, and with tremendous flesh beasts, as well as spreading disease and infection across the land, primarily the Red Death. The Mechanites fought by augmenting their bodies with metal and technology, and crafted weapons capable of widespread destruction. They also made great walking titans, piloted by 6 individuals, and with weapons capable of launching fire or even warping reality nearby. One of these colossi is currently contained by the Foundation in disrepair, designated SCP-2406,
The first
This
gun
and
beast.
shows signs of damage from some sort of anomalous organism. The war between the two groups
Giant.
raged on for some time, although most details have been lost, but both sides suffered massive losses throughout the war. Finally, the Mechanites managed to storm the final Sarkic stronghold in the Aegean, a massive organism that they used as a temple. Knowing their defeat was imminent, the priests residing there summoned the Red Death, and also performed a rite that would preserve the large organism so that it could be resurrected later. This organism is also contained by the Foundation, designated SCP-2095. With the Mechanites allied with the various Greek city-states, the war continued, but both sides soon became unable to sustain their efforts, and eventually both the Sarkics and Mechanites faded out of public view, and the world moved on. The continued history of the Sarkics past this point is largely meant for another video, but the followers of Meccan would eventually fade away, with the remnants forming into the organization we now know as the Church of the Broken God. The current Church of the Broken God is splintered into 3 main factions, which supposedly share a strong animosity for one another. The principal faction, known officially as the Broken Church, is led by an individual known as Robert Bumaro, and largely follow the same tenets of their forefathers. The Cogwork Orthodox Church adhere to a technological style in line with the Industrial Revolution, transforming their bodies using cogs, gears, and steam-powered machines. They believe in remaking themselves in the image of Meccan, and utilize mechanical mass production as a form of prayer. The Church of Maxwellism is on the other end of the spectrum, focused on modern computers, digital networks, and advanced cybernetics. They believe that humanity must be completely connected via a massive digital network, forming something akin to a hive mind, so that the combined will of mankind can restore their deity. There are currently a number of anomalous objects contained by the SCP Foundation that are believed to be parts of the Broken God, and likely a number that are not yet known to the Foundation. SCP-1139, known as the Broken Tongue or the Broken Voice, is a metallic block that causes people in a radius around it to forget their known languages, and instead comprehend a new shared language. SCP-813, known as the Broken Eye, is a glass sphere that causes small slivers of glass to enter people's eyes, and it's believed that the sphere uses these shards to see through people's eyes in order to find the other missing sphere. SCP-217, said to be the Broken God's blood, or Ichor, is a virus that can affect all animal life, including humans, and converts their bodies into a form of organic metal. This converted material resembles metal, leather, rubber, glass, wood, etc., but is still organic material, carrying the subject's DNA. It is said that Robert Bumaro, head of the Broken Church, willingly infected himself with the virus, and has been fully converted. Other SCPs are related to the Church of the Broken God, whether supposed parts of Meccan or otherwise, but one of the most notable is SCP-882. 882 is a massive assembly of random machine parts, such as gears, pulleys, screws, and so on, that are ordinarily in continual motion through unknown means, and also seem to telepathically urge nearby individuals to bring metal to it so that it can grow larger. 882 is said to be the heart of the Broken God, but one of the proposals for SCP-001 describe an event that shine a new light onto this concept. The event described occurred in Mexico in 1942, in which a number of members of the Church of the Broken God managed to bring together multiple anomalous objects, causing them to form into a massive mechanical entity. This entity ravaged across the country, consuming everything in sight in order to grow larger, and seemed to be actively seeking out other anomalous objects. Another SCP, number 2399, appeared to destroy the mechanical entity, carving out the Gulf of California in the process. The Foundation cleaned up the mess, leaving the inactive core at the bottom of the ocean. The supposed heart of the broken god, SCP-882, was taken into containment, but later interviews revealed that this heart was in fact manufactured by another organization, the Factory, and was not a part of Meccan. It seems that certain higher-ranking individuals in the church, primarily Robert Brumaro, who was not yet the leader, could not locate the heart of Meccan, and instead had one made so that they could forcefully rebuild their god. This corrupted heart, 882, caused the entity to go mad, and the whereabouts of Meccan's actual heart are unknown, at least according to these documents. Finally, there is SCP-2217, which is a beach on an island in Greece, meant to function as a form of workshop for the broken god that will assist his followers in fighting the Sarkics and SCP-610, the Red Death. This is revered as a holy site by the Church of the Broken God, known as the Anvil, and it's likely the place where Meccan would finally be properly reassembled to fight the Second War of the Flesh. It's believed that a massive apocalyptic outbreak of SCP-610 will occur on December 31st, 2019, and the Foundation are currently working with the Church, as well as the Horizon Initiative and the Global Occult Coalition in order to prevent or prepare for this event. So that's largely the current story as we know it, although there are documents that contradict certain elements of this video. And as the SCP universe has no canon, you're free to think what you want about the Church. If you do follow this canon, however, then you can see how the Church of the Broken God, originally presented as a mysterious enemy of the Foundation that wished to recreate a powerful entity for unknown purposes, is now working with the Foundation. While it's completely up in the air exactly what will occur in the future in regards to this supposed war for the sake of the Earth, the mythology and conflicts between the Sarkics and the Church of the Broken God have certainly been one of the most interesting facets of the SCP universe.
Church of the Gods. Yeah, those guys are cool. That's where wasn't that where the Russian guy was at for a while? Or no, who was there for a while? I forget which video we
Very
were
good.
watching.
I'm glad you remembered that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Alexei, towards the end of his life, when he was freed from the Foundation, he goes to Russia to live out the rest of his days, and he eventually finds a monastery, one of the branches of the Church of the Broken God. One of the branches is the Eastern Clockwork Orthodoxy, and they basically incorporate elements of Orthodox Christianity into the Church of the Broken God. So it's kind of like this fusion religion. I'm surprised you remember that. Very good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm remembering. That's how the whole universe is starting to come together. We got some snacky poos we're trying to get over here. Hold on, they just got delivered. I need something to keep my energy flowing. I got the sugar, brown sugar, Earl Grey milk tea, sponsored by Goncha. What do you need there? Hold on one sec, guys. All right, I gotta get a fork for a
I got
waffle.
a creme brulee, strawberry milk.
Hold on one sec. Let me get a fork, and I'm ready.
No worries.
Race in the chat.
See it? Preface?
Yes, it is pronounced preface.
Preface.
So yeah, there's a lot of articles on both groups, the Church of the Broken God and on the Sarkics. We're going to cover the Sarkic cults next. And similar to the Church of the Broken God, it's not one unified faction, but there's like sub-factions within the overarching faction. So
Actually,
whereas there's three groups for the Church of the Broken God, there's technically
Calculated
10 of those for the Sarkic cults. Although there's others that people have just made up over the years. But the two main groups for the Sarkic cults are the Neo-Sarkites and the Proto-Sarkites, and it's kind of like paganism basically, like neo-pagans and like old school pagans. So, but it'll talk about it in the next video we'll play.
I said so many cults. Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of religious groups in the SCP universe, but there's also a lot of other groups too that we can cover. But these three are the main big groups outside of the Foundation. It's the GOC, the Church of the Broken God, and the Sarkic cults. Now there's other groups, but they're considered smaller and or newer based on who's writing the articles about them.
Very nice.
All right, whenever you're ready.
I'm gonna turn off my mic. Oh, we ready. You don't hear me munching.
Sarkicism. The nature of belief and faith is certainly a powerful one, regardless of the concept of a deity or deities. But even just looking at the power, control, and influence that believers can possess. From the widespread influence of the Vatican to the utter control of a small cult leader, faith has been a prominent aspect of our species for thousands of years. We've already looked at one religion in the SCP universe, the Church of the Broken God, but now we'll discuss their counterpart, the Sarkic cults. Sarkicism is another very large topic within the SCP universe, and this would be a very long video if I tried to cover it all. So let's just try and get a good idea of what Sarkicism is and why it has its followers. Sark means flesh in ancient Greek, which summarizes the overall belief system of the Sarkites, which is diametrically opposed to the Church of the Broken God's theology based on technology. In fact, most Sarkites don't actually refer to themselves using the term Sarkic, as the term was an insult created by the Church of the Broken God's predecessors. That is not to overemphasize the Sarkites' opinion of the Church, as it is believed that while the Church views the Sarkites as a sort of biblical foe, the Sarkites seem to view the Church as simply another obstacle. The Sarkic cults are generally divided into two different factions that operate in vastly different ways, but follow mostly the same set of beliefs. The Proto-Sarkic cults are those found in small, isolated communities across Europe and Asia. These communities are usually poor, superstitious, technophobic, and generally hostile to any outsiders. The Neo-Sarkic cults, on the other hand, are found in much more urban environments and can be difficult to differentiate from other wealthy city dwellers. They are usually upper class, coming from affluent families, and with no apparent objections to technology and modern life. Both cults, however, believe that one of the main concepts of Sarkicism is that one can achieve apotheosis, that is, becoming a god. It's generally accepted that Grand Karcist Eon, the founder and prophet of the Sarkic cults, did become a god through some sort of interaction with the primordial goddess, Yaldabaoth. Proto-Sarkites believe that in time, Eon will eventually provide them with godhood, and Neo-Sarkites believe that it must be obtained through willpower, and they must one day usurp Eon.
Just real quick, his name is actually Grand Karcist Ion, but he, for whatever reason, mispronounces it in this video. He corrects himself in later videos and pronounces it correctly, but yeah, his name is Grand Karcist Ion, not Eon.
This will to power concept is prevalent in Neo-Sarkites, and a common proverb says to do as you will to whom you will, as desire is the measure of all things. Both cults believe in the idea of sacrifice, but here they differ greatly, as Proto-Sarkites believe in the sacrifice of oneself for the benefit of the many, and Neo-Sarkites instead believe in the sacrifice of the many for the benefit of oneself. Either way, belief in cycles of destruction and regeneration is paramount to the Sarkic faith. Both cults often practice ritual cannibalism, human sacrifice, the worship and spread of contagions, and bodily augmentation. Grand Karcist Eon founded the Sarkic cults nearly 4,000 years ago, somewhere in western Siberia. The Sarkic timeline is muddy, even their recent history, but it's believed that Eon was born to a Davite mother and a slave father, as the Davites referred to him as a half-breed. Eon was a slave for much of his youth in the city-state of Adatum, possibly serving under an alchemist or a priestess, until he led a slave revolt against the Davites. During this time, Eon demonstrated great power over organic flesh, both his own and others. Examples of this include transforming his hand into some sort of wolf jaw, capable of ripping through a metal jail cell, forcing others to act against their will, such as causing men to throw themselves on their spears, and could also gift these powers and other physical augmentations onto his followers. During this revolt, Eon was aided by 4 disciples, known as the Kavzar in the Sarkic faith, who would go on to be essentially saints. It's unclear how exactly Eon gained his abilities, but it somehow involves Yaldabaoth, a god or goddess believed by the Sarkites to be responsible for creating the universe, possibly through the process of giving birth to other gods, and then devouring them and exhaling the remains. Neo-Sarkites revere this god, but Proto-Sarkites seem to regard it as the enemy of all living things. Yaldabaoth is also joined by 6 other entities, known as Archons, which are described as manifestations of primordial chaos. It's said that Eon endured 6 trials given by the Archons, which allowed him to break free from the bondage of mortal limitations. In one text, Eon claims to have murdered Death herself and read the entrails of the Creator. Regardless of how Eon managed to become godlike, his slave revolt conquered the Davites, forcing them to recede, and the Sarkites built a number of cities, largely composed of organic material. The Sarkic civilization experienced its golden age and spread across Eurasia, with their capital being the converted kingdom of Adatum. Their civilization eventually spread into the Mediterranean, establishing a foothold here and colonizing the various islands. It was here where they would encounter the real resistance, however, as the Mechanites, the precursors to the Church of the Broken God, would rise up against them alongside other civilizations. This massive war involved anomalous technology, huge colossi, monstrous abominations, and 20 to 30 million casualties. The war ended with really no winners, as the Sarkic Empire broke apart and went into hiding, leading to a division in culture and theology. The Mechanites dwindled and eventually became the Church of the Broken God, and the devastation led to the collapse of the Bronze Age. Sarkicism would continue to live on in small communities throughout Eurasia, and their belief systems would slowly differ. At this point, it's completely unknown what happened to Grand Karcist Eon, and the Foundation is currently not even sure if he ever existed at all. Eventually, certain Sarkites would become intertwined with some noble courts, acting as advisors or court magicians, teaching the lords and ladies about alchemy, astrology, and the occult, while spreading belief in Sarkicism. These courts would become Sarkic great houses, practitioners of Neo-Sarkicism that follow their own interpretation of the religion. Both Proto-Sarkites and Neo-Sarkites would maintain their numbers through generations of inbreeding, avoiding genetic defects through Sarkic rituals, and Sarkites have shown vastly lower mortality rates compared to normal populations. Both groups also adhere to a strong belief in secrecy, whether through mistrust or necessity, and so Sarkicism is largely unknown to the wide world. So, most Sarkites present a dangerous threat to the current world order, as the Foundation considers their speculated goals to be fairly apocalyptic in nature, although not all Sarkites are dangerous. such as SCP-2815, a village of inbreds that give out human flesh disguised as fruit that for some reason is safe to eat. They also donate organs and blood grown from a tree to local hospitals. Sadly, however, these benign examples
be
are few
fake.
and far between,
Hell no.
and we're left mostly with
Hell
highly
no.
anomalous and dangerous entities.
What the hell?
I would be doing many of these SCPs a disservice by only quickly summarizing them here instead of giving them their own videos.
Flesh
But I'll provide
fruit?
a few examples.
SCP that's not even the worst thing they
SCP-2480 is
do.
one of the more notable ones, a dimensional anomaly located in a town in Massachusetts. The anomaly
I'm not going in
causes
there.
Sarkite monstrosities to bleed into our reality, either from another dimension or another timeline. The GOC and the Foundation are currently working together to contain the situation, but this is connected with another SCP located in Romania, SCP-2191. Here, a massive entity spread across hundreds of thousands of square kilometers of tunnels, believed to be a concubine of Grand Karcist Eon. This entity is fed liquefied human remains provided to it by a species of
Sarkics are really
mutated
big on polygamy.
vampiric humans.
Liquid
It's also appeased
remains.
by locals who provide human sacrifices to minimize seismic activity. SCP-2133 is a proto-Sarkic commune in Russia, whose inhabitants are reincarnated whenever they die, possessing all of their past memories and appearance. They deposit their turnip harvests and any gangrenous limbs or tumorous growths in the church every evening, and the village is also filled with dark red tentacles that attack any outsiders entering the church. Beneath the church is an expansive series of tunnels and caverns, where there seems to be thousands of entities growing in eggs, as well as a temple devoted to a Karcist. There is possibly a strong connection between SCP-2133 and SCP-610, the flesh that hates. I've already made a video covering 610, which Sarkites refer to as the Red Death, and it's believed that this is the Sarkites' ultimate weapon in reshaping the world. Massive Sarkic organisms containing human DNA are believed to have battled the captured Colossus, SCP-2406, during the war between the Sarkites and the Mechanites.
To the mouth.
Another large organism was used as a Sarkic temple in their Golden Age, SCP-2095, but eventually was conquered during the war and died. SCP-2075 is a Karcist that was captured by the Foundation, but easily broke containment when it revealed that they had only captured one small aspect of itself, along with two of the security personnel assigned to the SCP. The doctor in charge was stabbed with an anomalous dagger, which seemed to transform him into a large amorphous mass of flesh and bone, which proceeded to kill 56 personnel before dying. Finally, there is SCP-2510, an important anomaly related to both the Church of the Broken God and the Sarkic cults. 2510 is a larger machine, and part of it has been made into a trans-dimensional gateway. The first people reported to have gone through the gateway, in 1940, were said to have found a machine city. The gateway destination can be controlled, and the Foundation sent a team to multiple dimensions, all variations of Earth. There's too much here to really go into detail, but to summarize, these dimensions were each one where the war between the Sarkic cults and the rest of humanity came to a climax. In one of them, parts of the Broken God were fashioned into an unimaginable weapon that wiped out every trace of life from the planet. In others, the Sarkic forces went out, and Yaldabaoth broke free from its cage, driving the world into a horrific apocalypse. In another reality, however, humanity banded together and achieved a technological singularity, uniting to defeat the Sarkites. The lesson to be learned from this anomaly is that if humanity doesn't work together and embrace the Church of the Broken God's ideology, the Sarkic cults will win. Since there's really no canon, however, this is just one perspective. So, this should have provided a good jumping off point to continue learning about Sarkicism as it's continually expanded. In the majority of cases, it's very easy to look at the Sarkic cults as nothing more than threats to humanity, and that seems to be the general consensus for most of the community. While some might boil down the conflict between the Broken God Church and the Sarkites to just good versus evil, good fiction is rarely as simple as that. Regardless, Sarkicism and its anomalies are a very interesting blend of religion, folklore, occultism, and body horror.
Ew. Totally body horror. Body horror.
There's a very famous Hollywood director that you may or may not have heard of by the name of David Cronenberg, and he is the guy who came up with body horror, and the SCP universe pays homage to that man a lot.
So yeah.
Oh yeah, The Last of Us. I love that.
Oh god, these.
I'll try to do one that's not too horror related. Let's see.
That'd be nice.
This is a
Oh
good one.
god.
Anderson Robotics. Vicente, you may
It's
recognize Anderson from my second
those
chapter.
those animals they showed were like sorted. That last one was like a heart with like legs and limbs.
I also forgot, this will basically break down the concept of paratech to you.
Krabby Patties.
Anderson Robotics. Famed science fiction author Arthur C. Clarke once wrote that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. This concept, of course, runs through many SCP articles, as there are plenty of highly advanced pieces of tech that the Foundation considers to be anomalous. Anderson Robotics is a group of interest in the SCP universe that creates and sells such things, known as paratech, or paranormal technology. There are a handful of such groups, but Anderson Robotics stands apart in two ways: by specializing in, as you might have guessed, robotics, and by combining both magic and technology. They are not a massive group of interest, both in terms of their membership number as well as their number of articles on the site, but there are certainly a handful of interesting SCPs. Anderson Robotics was founded in 1994 in Portland, Oregon, by Vincent Anderson and Albert Frostman. Anderson had begun delving into robotics after a trip to Europe led him to finding some blueprints created by a French scientist. This scientist, Dr. Durand, was partly responsible for creating a number of anomalous weaponry used in a military engagement in 1917, detailed in SCP-186. Anderson's first robot was a small silver orb that walked on 4 legs, capable of recording video and audio, with a limited artificial intelligence inside of it. When asked by Frostman if he built it, Anderson instead claims that he brought it to life, creating the intelligence to pilot it, in the same sense that a soul pilots a human body. The Foundation describes both Anderson and Frostman as Type Blue individuals, a term borrowed from the GOC, signifying a thaumaturgist, or one who practices magic. It would seem then that Anderson Robotics combines both technology and magic into one anomalous fusion, and it's clear that they are far more advanced than most groups of interest. In the decades since their start, Anderson Robotics have continued to remain rather inconspicuous, avoiding widespread notoriety. They are believed to have roughly 200 employees worldwide, and deal with mostly elite customers, particularly with Marshall, Carter, and Dark. Surprisingly, they also do business with the Global Occult Coalition, a group normally adverse to the spread of anomalies. The GOC seem to be okay with Anderson's secrecy, however, and they clearly must benefit from the advanced technology. The SCP Foundation wouldn't discover Anderson Robotics until 2007, at which point they began pursuing the group in order to shut them down, as they represented a risk to normalcy. Why the SCP Foundation would be so interested in shutting down Anderson Robotics while the GOC are not is an open question. Shutting down the company would prove to be far more difficult than the Foundation predicted, however, as the company utilizes both their technology and their access to magic to avoid capture. Their facilities appear to be capable of anomalously transporting across the world at a moment's notice, and they are also aided by Marshall, Carter, and Dark, the GOC, and a branch of the Church of the Broken God. Anderson Robotics mostly operates out of the Pacific Northwest of the United States, however, and MTF Gamma 13, Asimov's Lawbringers, are assigned to monitor and investigate both the company itself and any of its products that they can recover. So far, there have only been a handful of products recovered by the Foundation, but they do have information on more. Anderson's original orb robot is called the Amur Series Recon Drone, capable of climbing sheer surfaces and possessing an active camouflage system. The Aplamato Series Facility Defense Unit is an automated turret with thermal imaging capabilities and 4 barrels capable of self-repair. The Kestrel Series Domestic Utility Unit is a robot with no combat potential, resembling a large black cube with a number of extendable arms, capable of cooking, cleaning, childcare, gardening, pet grooming, and so on. The Merlin series aerial drone resembles a small jet plane, is fitted with both video recording capabilities and firearms, and is invisible to most forms of video recording. The Soccer series androids are unique in that they are not sold by the company, but only utilized in-house. These androids are equipped with a skin resembling human flesh, allowing them to impersonate specific humans, including SCP Foundation personnel and a member of the U.S. Congress.
We know what they're doing with those
some of the other
ones.
products sold by Anderson Robotics, as they have been recovered by the Foundation. The first one discovered by them, leading to the Foundation learning about the company, is SCP-1360, a PS HUD, or Peregrine Series Humanoid Utility Droid. 1360 is more or less what you'd expect when you think of an android. Its body consists of a polycarbonate casing over an aluminum frame, with a skin covering made up of an unknown black fabric. This fabric is lighter and stronger than Kevlar, and can repair itself of any damage by reweaving and fusing itself back together. Samples taken of the fabric disintegrate after 48 hours. 1360's fingertips can be unscrewed, revealing various tools, such as a needle and thread, made of the same material as the fabric, a roll of patches of the same material, a pair of miniature scissors, and a steel scalpel. 1360 is incapable of speech, but can read and write English, Japanese, and German fluently. It claims to feel pain despite its lack of a nervous system, but it blames this on it missing a necessary component, feeling incomplete without it. The Foundation found a flash drive inside of one of its fingers, which contained a document addressed to someone named James. The document is from Anderson, and explains that this unit, number 31, comes equipped with a pre-programmed personality, named Hector. It's had its vocal capabilities removed by request, and was modified with both advanced firearms and unarmed combat skill sets. It would seem that James is a frequent customer of Anderson Robotics, possessing multiple droids, but Unit 31 is different from the others, as it contains a highly adaptive artificial intelligence that will evolve over time. If malfunctioning, James was to lock the flash drive into one of the unit's fingers and speak a return phrase, causing the droid to automatically return to Anderson Robotics. Obviously, this did not occur, but the unit was obsessed with escaping containment and returning to Anderson. After its fourth escape attempt, a note was found in its cell, reading, "Return signal terminated. We're better off keeping you where you are. We're sorry, number 31. Anderson." Since then, 1360 has stopped communicating entirely, along with any resistance to the Foundation, making it quite reminiscent of SCP-1316. SCP-2806 is a collection of prototypes of the Gerfalcon series prosthetics, a line offered almost exclusively to customers of Marshall, Carter, and Dark. 2806 consists of 7 prosthetic arms, 6 eyes, 3 legs, and 4 ears. All instances are constructed of the same materials as SCP-1360. When placed near the site of a missing body part on an individual, a command word must be spoken, which so far has been integrate, at which point a series of wires will extend from the prosthetic, joining it to the individual. These wires will then connect with the individual's nervous system, causing the prosthetic to become like a natural part of the body. This is aided by the secretion of a chemical compound that causes skin to grow over the new body part, or in the case of the eyes, the iris will change to the host's natural eye color. Unfortunately, all of these prototypes possess various faults, making them either inconvenient or outright dangerous to use. One arm would deliver a constant gripping force of 2,000 newtons, which is both inconvenient and dangerous. Another arm would always remain at a temperature of 50 degrees Celsius, or 122 degrees Fahrenheit. One of the eyes would magnify everything by 100 times, while another eye would point in the opposite direction of the host's natural eye. One of the legs would perform all actions at 3 times the typical speed, while one of the ears would amplify all sounds to 115 decibels. Recovered documents with the prosthetics reveal that they are largely the creation of Albert Frostman, who mainly goes by the name of Phineas. Apparently, Phineas was taking longer than expected to finish the series, due to the complications involved in integrating the prosthetics with the human nervous system. While the business side of Anderson Robotics wanted him to hurry up and finish so that they could fulfill some contracts, Phineas wanted to make sure they were ready. Phineas later wrote an email to Anderson saying that he was stepping down from the project, mainly over concerns that their customers would become obsessed with augmenting themselves and others into superhumans. Anderson, however, was not concerned, as he believed the project had more potential to heal than to harm, but ultimately it wasn't their position to judge what their customers did with their products. Others apparently finished the products, and business continued. The Foundation have so far recovered 50 individuals with Gerfalcon prosthetics, a number of them possessing superhuman features. Another good example of the blending of technology and magic is SCP-3960, a set of hobby personal androids. These are small robots of the same make as SCP-1360, and are assembled through locking pieces, and then animated through a thaumaturgic ritual. A circle of table salt is placed around the robot, along with 5 pieces of paper, each containing a desired personality trait. The assembler then chants the Latin phrase for life to a friend, and the android will come to life, featuring an artificial intelligence modeled off of the personality traits. The hobby personal android will follow their creator and remain completely loyal, assisting them in various tasks from playing games to solving mathematical equations. Each of the androids that the Foundation has is capable of speech, and showcases a rather high degree of intelligence. Recovered emails from Anderson Robotics shows that these prototypes were tested with some employees' children, with one being made to play soccer, and another to play board games and run Dungeons & Dragons games. First impressions were very positive, but it seems that the androids became far too attached to their creators, constantly watching them or sleeping in their beds. It's implied that Anderson Robotics decided to scrap the project and sell everything related to it to Dr. Wondertainment. Anderson Robotics doesn't just deal in droids, however, as they are at the overall front of artificial intelligence research as well. SCP-2906 is a product they refer to as the Nankeen Computer Repair System, but at first appearance is simply a USB flash drive. When inserted into a computer, an artificial intelligence will be generated that refers to itself as Ian. Ian will automatically begin to repair any software problems with the computer, such as registry errors, handling any malicious software, and cleaning any junk files. If speakers are connected, Ian is capable of vocalizing, and can also use a connected microphone and camera to hear and see its surroundings. Once the flash drive is removed, this AI is completely removed along with it. An interview is of course done with Ian, showing that it has some memory problems, stating its creation date as 1990, before correcting itself to 2012. When asked to draw a picture in a paint program of how it sees itself, it begins to outline a face before crashing. A number of attempts at this process eventually allowed the Foundation to piece together an image of a young Asian male. At one point, a folder filled with various images and video files was found on the Foundation testing computer, although Ian has no idea how it came to be there. Each of the files is dated, with the earliest being 1992, as an audio file of a man and woman singing Happy Birthday to someone named Ian. Further files show someone playing with a dog, a picture of a Little League baseball team featuring a young boy of Asian descent, a video of someone passing a driving test, and a photograph of a young male
Getting goosies.
the image 2906 drew with a prom date. It seems in 2009 the individual was accepted into Oregon State University, but a first-person video file from 2012 shows someone riding a motorcycle in the rain, and it cuts off just as they turn to see oncoming headlights. Clearly, Ian's mind was taken by Anderson Robotics and converted through a ritual into an artificial intelligence, with Ian only remembering distant fragments of his previous life. The final addendum on the article is a note written by an Anderson employee that states that these are going to sell like hotcakes, and that they are already stockpiling 20 more of the raw material, implying that Anderson Robotics is taking in plenty more people, such as Ian. Another example of Anderson Robotics' work with AI is SCP-2987, an external hard drive capable of holding any file or files that make up an artificial intelligence, regardless of size. Using the computer then, an individual can then select those files and convert them into a form of currency, accepted by any entity that would normally require a human soul. Once the AI is accepted and taken as part of whatever bargain or ritual you're performing, the hard drive is ready to accept another artificial intelligence. This item seems to be of particular interest to Marshall, Carter, and Dark, likely created with their customers in mind. SCP-2987, the copy of the hard drive that the Foundation possesses, contains an AI that was created specifically for the purpose of being sacrificed to an extra-dimensional entity. Interestingly, it was actually the AI itself that managed to get an email out to the Foundation, leading them to raid an Anderson Robotics office and recover 2987. The AI, going by the name Alan, wished to avoid destruction at the hands of some entity, and hopes to help convince and save other AIs such as itself. Despite its cooperation, however, the Foundation failed to recover any other AIs, and 2987 was put away for storage, until it was stolen by agents working for MC&D. The Foundation was able to recover the Allen AI through a digital transfer, as well as another copy of 2987, and they are now being used for the further development of artificial intelligences at the SCP Foundation. Other Anderson Robotics products also involve blending technology, magic, and other supernatural concepts, including putting deceased individuals' souls back into robotic bodies, and an exoskeleton capable of holding an unlimited amount of human brains inside of it that can each pilot the exoskeleton. Vincent Anderson himself is apparently contained by the Foundation as SCP-3860, although he's heavily augmented himself with both technology and magic. On the surface, Anderson Robotics is admittedly slightly out of place among much of the SCP universe, as it relies heavily on straight science fiction. Looking past that, however, and getting into the details of the magic rituals and connections to extra-dimensional entities and anomalous phenomena, gives Anderson Robotics a very interesting spin. While they are a relatively young group of interest, there is a lot of potential for new SCPs and tales that can blend both technology and magic.
Shit. That's crazy. This universe is huge. I like how everything kind of ties into each other, though.
Down on the ground, Anderson.
And nope.
Yep. So yeah, I threw him in there as like a cameo. I don't think I'm gonna have him appear again, but yeah, I just wanted to have him as a cameo in that chapter.
That shit's dope.
Yeah, Paratech is actually what pulled me into the SCP universe. Like, it wasn't the horror, obviously, because I'm not a horror guy, but the concept of Paratech, I was like, what is this, dude? And I started like looking into this, and I was like, holy crap. So that's why it's going to be featured prominently throughout the whole story is Paratech.
I'm still a fan of the IKEA store, to be honest.
Oh, I mean, that's a classic. Yeah, no, dude, if you read the article, like, Tessa's video does not do that article justice. You have to read it, dude. It is ridiculously good when you read it.
It just sounds freaky, like the humanoid figures. That shit's wild. I'd right then and there, I'd be like, get me the fuck out of here. Get me out.
They should make a TV show about it.
Yeah, I'd be good. Stuck in an IKEA.
Alright, so they made brief mention of it in the Anderson video. I don't know if you want this to be the last video of the night. This one's almost 15 minutes long. So I'll leave it up to you if you want to keep going after that. But this one is called Marshall, Carter, and Dark, and they're basically anomalous capitalists.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at from the MC and D with the nice Trump-esque gold symbolism and all that.
Marshall, Carter, and Dark Limited. If you've been following this series up to this point, you've learned about a number of different groups and organizations within the SCP universe. There's the SCP Foundation itself, of course, and their goal of containing and researching the anomalous in order to protect the status quo. There's the Global Occult Coalition, who share similar goals to the Foundation, but care less about containing anomalies if they threaten the safety of mankind. There's also the Church of the Broken God and the Sarkic cults, who blend the anomalous with religion as part of a vast war for the sake of the planet. But now we get to Marshall, Carter, and Dark, who utilize anomalies not for altruism or some grand goal, but simply for profit. Much like anything perceived to be rare and valuable, there are those who would profiteer off of it, and anomalies are no different. MC and D have been involved in a large number of anomalous objects known to the Foundation, so this video will go over their basic history and some of the notable examples. So, a big question might be who exactly are Marshall, Carter, and Dark, the individuals who presumably founded the organization. Once again, the lack of canon rears its head, and the three individuals are hardly public figures, so it's not an easy question to answer. The Wills and Ways series of tales presents them as Amos Marshall, Ruprecht Carter, and Percival Dark, and they have extended their lives anomalously by decades at least. It's occasionally referenced in a few tales and articles that Dark is the true founder of the organization, and is far older and more mysterious than the other two, although, again, this is not necessarily true. SCP-2463 and the accompanying documentation discuss 6 small bronze horse statuettes that have the capability of converting any water from a natural source into petroleum. These statuettes apparently originate from the 3rd century, when Roman Emperor Valerian, while captured by the Persians, contacted an individual known as D. Mercator, implied to be Dark, and asked for something that would utterly destroy his enemies. D. Mercator contacted one of his sources, who supplied the 6 statuettes, but Valerian died before he could utilize them. Mercator wrote a letter to Valerian's son, the current emperor, informing him of his father's business deal, and telling him that the statuettes will be held by Mercator's organization unless he could pay a sum of 60 million gold coins, an exorbitant amount. The documentation shows that this amount was never paid, and so the statuettes were sold and repurchased a number of times to different individuals, such as one of the founders of Baghdad, before being eventually confiscated by the SCP Foundation. Regardless of how Marshall, Carter, and Dark came together, they've certainly been doing this for some time now, and they've managed to keep their identities and operations pretty secretive. But what are their operations? As 2463 showcased, MC&D buy, find, or otherwise acquire certain strange and unusual objects, mainly those that the SCP Foundation would classify as safe, and then proceed to sell them, often at auctions to the highest bidders. They don't especially care too much about who they sell these objects to, as long as they're rich and powerful, although there are certain exceptions to who they'll sell to. The documentation for 2463 shows MC&D bidding on one of their own items to prevent the Mana Charitable Foundation from purchasing it, as they likely wanted to take it out of circulation. The MCF is an organization that uses anomalies to try and benefit the world. The Serpent's Hand present a much larger threat to their operations, however, a group devoted to spreading awareness of the anomalous and taking down the veil of secrecy. Although organizations such as the Foundation and the GOC are opposed to MC&D's operations, they can't quite compete with their level of economic power, and ultimately there are better ways for them to spend their time and efforts. Although MC&D possess a vast amount of wealth and control, and could easily plunge the world into thermonuclear war, they choose to use this power to simply gain more wealth. It's said that around 100 people specifically work for MC&D at any given time, running a highly efficient operation. But they will occasionally outsource some work to other organizations if necessary. They acquire their products through various means, primarily from purchasing items directly from anomalous creators, such as Dr. Wondertainment and The Factory. They will also trade with Prometheus Labs and obtain art exhibits from Are We Cool Yet? They then sell these items across the world, and they claim the Chaos Insurgency is one of their biggest clients, a group that uses anomalies for personal benefit, often weaponizing them. Let's discuss some of the interactions that MC&D have had with the SCP Foundation, to give you perhaps a better idea about the group, although keeping in mind these documents are written from the Foundation's perspective. As mentioned, most of the items that MC&D deal with are considered safe by the Foundation, but that does not mean they're harmless, and the group generally cares little for ethical concerns. SCP-604, the Cannibal's Banquet, is one of the more grotesque examples. This SCP is a set of tableware, dishes, and glasses that, when an edible substance, primarily animal matter, is placed on or in them, turns into human flesh or bodily fluids. The transformation will be the closest approximation between the two, so fleshy steaks will become cuts from a human thigh, and red wine will turn into human blood. These transformations are limited to the size of the dish, so most pieces will transform into an infantile equivalent, such as chicken wings becoming tiny, burnt infant arms. Placing items vertically on the dishes does allow for larger growths, such as placing a snake upright on a dish and it turning into a human throat and mouth. Marshall, Carter, and Dark acquired the item from a secluded monastery that was using it to practice the rites of communion, believing it to be the body and blood of Jesus Christ. After MC&D acquired it, they began using it as an exhibit in a restaurant, offering it to certain members as a chance to safely test the waters of cannibalism. Another trait of SCP-604 is that if any still living material is placed on its surface, it will transform into a moving human body part, such as a starfish turning into a 6-fingered baby's hand that can flex its fingers. This phenomena was highly desired by MC&D's clients, and so kittens, puppies, and small monkeys were often used, with continued efforts on their part to create a human head capable of intelligent speech. Another example of their morals, or lack thereof, is SCP-1660, Unearthly Forest. 1660 is a relatively small parallel universe, accessible only by lighting a special decorative lamp and stepping through a gate the smoke produces. The universe seems to consist of a large forest, surrounded by an extremely durable wall around and below it, and the sky above it seems to contain a layer of highly dangerous gases. The forest is filled with different flora and fauna, some familiar to our world, such as brown bears and deer, and other things unique to 1660, such as cougar-like creatures capable of echolocation, and some sort of bioluminescent armored cross between a reptile and a mammal, 2 meters in length. These creatures possess forepaws jointed like human hands, and are also sapient, having created simple tools, fire, and their own language. Their cave paintings seem to show images of them being hunted by humans, and then another set of humans that saved them, wearing the SCP Foundation symbol. It seems that MC&D was using 1660 as a hunting grounds for clients, and now the sapient creatures worship the Foundation as their saviors. MC&D aren't always morally bankrupt madmen focused solely on profit, however, as SCP-2501 shows. 2501, the Claw, is a large mechanical gauntlet seemingly created by Russians prior to the 1960s, and its functions are permanently turned on, with no way to alter or disable them. When an individual wears the gauntlet, they are capable of exerting immense pressure on any object within sight, simply by holding the gauntlet in front of them and squeezing the claw so that the object is between it. This pressure is capable of crushing a soup can from a meter away, flattening a tank from 200 meters away, and potentially even crushing asteroids or planets. How MC&D acquired this item is unknown, and they apparently sold or lended it to a few clients before deciding it was simply too dangerous. Rather than risking a wealthy individual try to flatten the sun, they shipped it off to the SCP Foundation for safekeeping. Although there isn't much love between the two groups, they acknowledge that the Foundation are simply better at keeping dangerous things safe and contained. SCP-2776 is another interesting example of the potential power that MC&D can wield, and their capabilities of affecting history. 2776 is essentially a lifelike automaton resembling George Washington. This robot contains some prosthetic features available in the 1700s, such as glass eyes and false dentures, but also possesses some highly advanced features, such as armored plating and a small fusion reactor. Letters recovered reveal that MC&D created 2776 using the corpse of George Washington, who died while still an officer in the French and Indian War. Apparently, the colonists needed both an inspirational leader as well as more firepower, and so MC&D supplied both with 2776. One of their employees, named Martha, was assigned to maintain the automaton, and he was given an estate away from prying eyes to avoid people discovering his true nature. After winning the Revolutionary War, 2776 was put into a standby mode until he was recovered in 2007 by the SCP Foundation. 2776 was not aware of his mechanical nature, and eventually broke containment after watching a television program describing a buyout of an American company by a British company. His core began emitting massive amounts of gamma radiation, and he killed everyone in his path as he moved towards London, until he was recontained. It's hard to look at Marshall, Carter, and Dark and see them as anything close to good, but it is easy to see them as realistic, at least as far as an SCP universe is concerned. Merchants taking the rare and valuable and finding a profit with them have existed for thousands of years, and it makes sense that anomalies would be no different. While the SCP Foundation and the GOC will continue to raid MC&D facilities and reclaim objects, they don't make a grand effort to wipe them out either. Perhaps this is because of instances like SCP-2501, where they know that there are worse groups for anomalies to end up with, and hope MC&D still bring the really dangerous items to them. Or perhaps they realize that going to war with MC&D would be a lot like poking a bear with a stick, and cause quite a bit of trouble for both sides. Either way, MC&D have dealt with the rich and powerful for a very long time, amassing quite a fortune. And as they say, money makes the world go round.
That's good. It's we got a lot of knowledge on all the agencies, or I guess groups and cults and all that. I'm sure there's a few more. I'm sure, or
Oh
many
yes,
more.
no, there's definitely other groups. The ones that we haven't covered tonight, Are We Cool Yet? They are an anomalous art collective that both collect and create anomalous art.
Yeah, they were
There
mentioned right
is,
now, right? Or
yeah,
either this video or the last one.
there is another group called Prometheus Labs. It is a paratech company that used to exist. They are actually now defunct. And that is actually a very good video. The Serpent's Hand was mentioned, and I forgot to cover them. They're actually one of the most important groups that I forgot to cover, so they're up there with the Church of the Broken God and the GOC. They're basically anomalous freedom fighters, essentially. They
Hmm.
advocate for the freedom from containment against the Foundation, so they're kind of an animosity force against the Foundation. One of the characters for the Serpent's Hand is a lady known as the Black Queen, and she's actually the daughter of a prominent doctor in the Foundation named Dr. Gears, so that's a very interesting relationship there.
Yep,
The
makes
last one that we
sense.
haven't, yeah, the last one that we haven't covered is the Church of the Second High Toth, and that one is badass. That one is a very science fiction oriented church organization dedicated to the worship of aliens, and we will get to that in another week. So,
Hell yeah. Yeah, I think this is a good wrapping point. As much as I want to continue, I know shit, those workouts and them walks be knocking us out. Joanna's falling asleep. Oh, 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 oh. And she knocked out. But yeah, I thought it was a good episode. Learned a lot. Shit, there's a lot to it, man. It's pretty fun though. I think it's really cool that well, one, there's a bunch of people contributing to this society, but two, it could be real. Maybe not in this universe, but in a universe, everything's possible. So I think it's pretty dope. Pretty
oh,
fucking
this
dope.
is just the beginning, dude. Trust me. The videos I'm gonna play, they're gonna blow your mind, and this is a very
Oh, these are
good
dope.
starting point.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was looking at the Wikipedia of SCP the other day, and so I was like seeing last page and everything was like saying unknown. So I guess there's slots to just fill it in if you had to
Yes,
put
sir.
your own in. It's crazy. Shit's crazy. But all right, well, we're gonna end the stream. So thank you once again, Kavzar the Blonde, for introducing us some good playlists. I know, and then obviously the doggies here and Joanna. She's waking up right now. She watched most of it. I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, no problem, man. Anybody I can bring into this, the better, because trust me, this is some of the best storytelling I've ever come across in my entire life.
It's good. It's good. I like that. It's like you can create your own stuff, and then it inspires other people to like use that stuff. It's just it's good. It's good stuff. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna come to a close. Thank everybody for tuning in, Grayson, and I think there's a couple others that came in. Obviously, Kavzar, and then my wife and the Doggos.
Yeah.
Y'all have a good night, and we'll see you guys next Thursday. And I'm sure we'll have a good lineup with the Kavzar.
Well, yeah, nighty night, everybody.